bass, how low can you go? Well, I guess essentially you can only go as low as the instrument is tuned to, so therefore, in this case you mentioned come on bass. If it were tuned to E standard, then that's the lowest you could go. If it was a 5-string bass, for example, you could go lower. So I mean, it's all very well asking the question, how low can you go? Or indeed, bass, how low can you? Melvins are back with their 22, 23. They've done a lot of albums. An album, Pinkus Abortion Technician. Okay, so the Melvins, or Melvins, should I say, not the Melvins, a common misconception, I believe. Ooh. Where does one start with the Melvins? Where does one start with Melvins? Melvins, not the Melvins. Been going since something like 1983. They're one of those bands that have always been around. Could always kind of rely on them to put an album out every couple of years. They're always there, they're always touring, they're always doing stuff. And they never truly made it big, probably due to King Buzz Osborne, as he's also known. He's always been quite a bit of a contrarian, I guess, one of those people who, he kind of likes aggravating people, he likes doing his own thing. Certainly doesn't like to play ball, which is admirable, you know what I mean? Uncompromising men are always easy to... It was in Braveheart, the quote. The King said it. They were hugely influential on the grunge scene, and they were very, very influential on the sludge metal scene. The NOLA scene in particular, with of course Phil Anselmo, Jimmy Bower, anyone in Down. There was a fantastic documentary, 7-part documentary that Noisy did on the NOLA scene, with all the aforementioned chaps. I'll put a link in the description for that one, because if you haven't seen it already, I highly recommend that you check that one out. Very fascinating documentary. The rains begin to fall, they do, the rain begins to fall. Apparently Melvin, the name, came from when Buzz Osborne worked at a thrift store. I think it was a thrift store, Thriftway. Oh, a Thriftway in Montesanto, Washington, where Osborne worked as a clerk. Melvin was the name of a supervisor who was despised by everybody, and apparently Buzz thought it was a suitably idiotic name to call a band. We have people. We have people. We have a people situation here, people. I did my witty bass joke in the intro. That's because there are in fact 2 bass players on this album. They wanted to explore the lower end. So, on guitar and vocals, as ever, we have King Buzzo, also known as Buzz Osborne. His right-hand man on drums, as ever, is Dale Crover, who's been with him since 1984, I think. We have a people situation going on. We have Stephen McDonald of Red Cross and Off fame. He's been on quite a few of their albums. He's been on a few of their albums now. And also on the album we have Jeff Pinkus from Butthole Surfers. Now, the name Pinkus Abortion Technician is actually a take on the Butthole Surfers Locust Abortion Technician. And obviously now they have Pinkus from there in this, so that's why this is that, and that is this. Honestly, I don't know what number album this is. They've done so many. They released an album last year, A Walk with Love and Death, which was a double album. Melvins are one of those bands I kind of have a... I wouldn't necessarily go so far as love-hate, but they've done some incredibly good stuff. Of course, the stuff they did on the Atlantic years is is seen as their most successful stuff. It was on major labels and stuff, but also there was some damn good stuff. I mean, Houdini, Stoner Witch, Stag. There was some great stuff on those albums. Honey Bucket, come on. Revolve, there is other songs. But they've done so many albums over the years. I honestly don't even know what number this is. I know it's in the 20s, easily in the 20s. Might even be more than that for all I know, God knows. If you count EPs, etc., it's a ridiculous amount. Stop talking shit and get on with the review. Not only that, it's it genuinely looks like that's some pretty shit weather coming in. That sure is some Englandhamshire weather you got there. Now, it has to be said, 3 of the songs on this album are covers, starting off with track 1, which is Stop Moving to Florida, which is an amalgamation of 2 songs, 2 cover songs. First one being James Gang Stop, and the second part of the song being Moving to Florida by the Butthole Surfers. It's actually quite a good song, this one. I actually enjoyed it. Stop sounds awesome. I love the guitar tone on it. Really punchy with a nice chorus. And when we get to the second part of the track, the Butthole Surfers Moving to Florida, we really see the first implementation of the double bass strategy. I do so hope nobody sees me do these things. Track 2 is Embrace the Rub. This is like a minute 40 seconds, something like this. Much more raw and stripped down, kind of very punk rock. Remind me a lot of the Buzzcocks, but a decent enough song. A rainbow, that's nice, isn't that nice? A rainbow. Oh. Don't Forget to Breathe is up next. This is one of the standout tracks, I felt. Starts out with some distorted bass, while we are told, don't forget to breathe. Done in a very breathy, almost sexual way, which I'm not sure I approve of. There was a real swagger to this song though, that kind of reminded me a little bit of Nina Simone's Feeling Good. And I'm feeling good. Hope you sound better than you're singing, you twats. There was a nice little bit of lead work from Buzz on this one as well. Really quite enjoyed this song a lot, actually. Next up is Flamboyant Duck. Kind of an acoustic Jane's Addiction type vibe on this one. It's okay. I think around 4.5 minutes in, it goes into this much heavier, sludgier riff. More traditional sort of Melvins riff. Didn't do a lot for me, I suppose. Next up is Break Bread. Much like Embrace the Rub, this is a very short, more punk rock, hard rock based song. Catchy, hooky, nice guitars. Break Bread. Fun. Yeah, it was a fun song. Up next is one of the real highlights I wasn't expecting. This is actually the second of the covers on the album, and this is a cover of the Beatles' I Wanna Hold Your Hand. And they do a great job of it. Do a really, really interesting job on it. Done with heavy distorted guitars. Down, 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 then you understand. Yeah, to the day I do not know the words. Tempo going up and down on it quite nicely. Anyone who's heard covers from the Melvins before will know that they always kind of make them their own. I always appreciate that about them. If you haven't seen it already, if you're a Melvins fan, you must have done by now. But if you haven't seen it, I'll leave a link in the description. There was a great cover of Black Sabbath's Into the Void they did years ago. This must have been at the beginning of their careers, or sort of late 80s, early 90s. But it's done so slow, the beginning of it. But anyway, worth checking out. Going off point. Next up is Prenup Butter, which is again very prominent in the double bassage that's on offer for this particular piece. Some interesting effects used. Very sort of 60s psychedelic feel on this one. Had some trippier moments in it. Decent enough. And the final song is Graveyard, which is again another cover by the Butthole Surfers. A fairly faithful take on the song, but then it morphs into a bit of an extended jam that goes on for a good 3 or 4 minutes at the tail end of the song. So what do I think of the album? It's not a bad album. One of the major issues I have with the Melvins is they can be really hit and miss. They either do stuff that I really, really latch onto and love, or it's kind of, I don't know if I go so far as throwaway or filler, but yeah, I don't know how much I'd return to this album. There's definitely some enjoyable stuff on there. There always is. There's always something on a Melvins album. I don't know if it's as experimental as they try to make it out to be. The whole 2 bass players thing, not really sure it added that much to it, really. Some decent enough songs on there. Don't Forget to Breathe, I really enjoyed. Really enjoyed their cover of Wanna Hold Your Hand. And the opening track, Stop Moving to Florida, actually was actually a really good tune as well. Like I said, not a bad album. definitely check it out for yourselves. Make up your own minds if my word's not good enough for you. It doesn't help that Sleep surprised everybody with a brand new album a couple of days ago, and I've pretty much been obsessed with that album ever since. Maybe that's tainted this one a little bit, but check it out yourselves. It's on Spotify and YouTube, all the rest of it, so you can certainly have a listen before you buy type thing. You don't need me to tell you this stuff, you know this stuff. So I guess we best get prepared for next week's sojourn into the oh, don't try and sound clever, you're not. Next week I'm going to have a go at the new Godsmack album. Never really bothered with Godsmack before. I know that it's supposed to be a much more rocky affair as opposed to metal, but yeah, they're one of those bands I never really bothered with, so I'm interested to see what I think of those. The new Skindred album is coming out. I'm going to do a review on that. I've always been meaning to check those guys out. Always like what I hear from him, and Benji, the front man, phenomenal front man he seems. The shitty grey comes to claim me. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, comment, share.